Hello, boys and girls. This is Mr. Weaver, and I'm going to lead you through our tour of learning Unity for the next 9 weeks. Most of the lessons will be recorded here, and just to help you a little bit, I have some tools just to help you see the mouse a little bit better. For example, there is a yellow highlight around it, so you can follow the cursor a lot better. When I left click, you'll see a red circle go around the cursor, and when I right click you'll see a blue circle, so you can kind of follow along and see what I'm doing in Unity. When you first open up Unity, you'll get this project wizard. These are all my previous projects. You probably won't have any. Click on create new project, and these are all the different packages that you can import. We're going to leave them all blank for now. We won't select any because we won't need any. Up here you'll see the project location. This one is mine. What you'll probably want to do is click browse and then head over and find your folder that we created for Visual Basic, or you can create a new folder. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea either. Either or, just so you know where your project files are at. I'm going to leave mine as default because it doesn't matter, I'm on my own computer. And let's rename the project, so that last little bit there, I'll just call it practice. Because for now, we're just going to learn the different windows of Unity and how it's set up, and we'll probably create a new project later. There's also a little tab down here to go from 2D to 3D, set up defaults for that. We'll just leave it at 3D. I don't think we'll ever change that. So I think we're ready to create our project. And we'll click create. It'll take a minute, and it should pop in, and webbo, there is Unity. Overwhelming at first, but it's very similar to Visual Basic, how it has its own tabs and windows broken down into sections. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first one that is the main game window that you'll work with is the scene view right here. So if that wasn't selected, you can just like Visual Basic, you can come up here and select different tabs. So let's talk about the scene view first. Just like in Visual Basic, the game design view, we have the scene view. This is where you're going to put all the different objects and kind of lay stuff out, lay your levels down, add textures and all that. This is how you're going to do that. In this scene view, all the objects are displayed, but the only object that is shown is a camera, so it doesn't have a physical body to it, so they just put in an icon for the camera. One thing that's kind of cool is this gizmo over here. It actually shows the direction of the different axes. So you have the x-axis, z-axis, and y-axis, because we're working in 3D space now. If you want to zoom in and zoom out, you can just use the mouse wheel in and out to go through if you don't have a mouse wheel. I don't think there's a key for that. It might be plus or minus. Nope. Okay. Should have a wheel though. If it doesn't work, just make sure you click on the scene view first and then use the wheel. Another way to zoom the camera, well not zoom, but rotate the camera around, is to actually do it in first person, is to right click and then hold it down, and you'll see that little eye icon, and then you can just rotate the mouse around, and it's like you're actually looking through the scene view. Pretty cool. If you want to rotate it about a point in the environment, you have to hold down Alt. Doesn't matter which Alt, and then you'll have the eye icon, and then left click and drag, and you'll go. You can even go below that little grid. Doesn't really necessarily mean the ground. Alright, so that's how you rotate the view around. There's some other buttons up here we'll get to a little bit later, but I just want you to get a setup of what all the windows do today. So that's the scene view. All the objects that you put in here are actually displayed as a list in the hierarchy view over here on the left. So like I said, the only one in here is the main camera. If you click the create button, we actually have all these different objects that we're able to create. We'll mainly concern ourselves with the physical objects, the cube, sphere, all that kind of stuff, but we'll get to the others eventually. So we won't create anything yet. If you select an object over here in the hierarchy or in the scene view, either one of these that I click, and notice that it actually selects it and you get this little gizmo here. So that means you can move it in any of these 3 directions. Oops. And it actually, since it is a camera, it gives you a little preview of what it's looking at. Since there's nothing else in the scene, it's just giving you a blank background of blue. And if we switch over to game view right here, click on this tab, this is what the player is actually looking at when they play the game. The scene view is only for the programmers and the designers to kind of design what it's going to look like, but what the player actually sees is that camera right here. So there's nothing else in here, so that's why it's blue. Right. When you select an object to deselect something, you just click somewhere else, even in the scene view as well, and it just disappears. When you do select an object, you have the inspector window over on the right hand side. This is very similar to the properties window in Visual Basic. It is at the bottom right. This lists all the different settings that we'll be able to change. You have the name at the top. If it's actually visible or not is the check mark right here. It's enabled and disabled. Transform just means basically the position, rotation, and scale. So you can change all of those different things right here. Since it is a camera, the camera property is also enabled. Remember, not all objects have the same properties, so this camera is the only thing that's going to have this property. We have the skybox, the background color, like I said, we can change that. If you just click over here, it'll open up this little eyedropper and color palette. You can just kind of zoom around and find the color you like. Okay. Doesn't really matter for right now. We're not going to do too much with this project. Some other different properties that you can change, the field of view, so on and so forth. We have some other properties down here which we'll get into later. Doesn't mean a whole lot to us right now. If we want to add components later on, like maybe we want to add a collider, so we want the camera to collide with something, or we want to add audio, that's how we do it here. It's called components. Alright, so we got the inspector window, very similar to the properties window. We got the hierarchy where all the objects are displayed, scene view and game view. And two more important windows down here. We have the project window, which lists all the different files and what they call assets. Assets are basically any objects, textures, audio files, anything like that that you want to add into the game. Sprites would also be located in there. They're just called assets. So what we want to do is kind of organize this into folders. It's going to make it nice and neat instead of just throwing everything in one big folder. So what we can do is kind of organize that now so you get the hang of it. So we have the assets folder. What we want to do is create a new folder. So if you right click on there, create folder. Okay, these are all the different things that we'll be able to create. For now we're just going to make a new folder and we'll call this scenes. I'm going to capitalize scenes. Alright, so this is all linked together. This is your project view. These are all the different folders, and then you can actually click on the folder and this shows what's in it. Right now we just have an empty folder. Alright, we'll put something in that eventually, but I just wanted to get that done. Alright, if you click on your assets, it lists all the different folders in there. You can go big icons or small just by using this little bar down in the bottom right. You can increase it or decrease it. If you go all the way to the left, it's kind of like detailed view. And it lists all the different folders. I like that view the best. We also have the console window. If you click here, this is where all the errors are going to display once you start getting into coding. It's also different warnings and other messages. So that's what these icons in the right hand side here are. This will light up as red if it's an error that you cannot playtest until you fix. The one in the middle is just a warning. You don't need to fix it, but it's recommended just for play issues and performance issues. The one on the left is for any debug type of statements. Again, that's just for programmers and designers. The player actually wouldn't see those messages, but it's helpful when you're designing to have those in there. So what you can do right now is kind of click and drag any of these windows wherever you want. For example, all I did was click on this game view and I can drag it, so maybe I want it down here as like a separate window. I can drag it in over here. So what I want you guys to do is kind of drag these around, put them where you want to, wherever it feels convenient. Okay. I'm only allowed to record 10 minutes of video at a time, so I'm going to go ahead and stop here and I'll start a new one.